Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're headed to Southeast Asia.
Yeah, there's a lot going on over there.
For sure. And today, we're going to zero in on a pretty fascinating development a bunch of countries are thinking about, like seriously thinking about, joining BRICS.
That's the bloc with Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, right?
Exactly.
Like
The big emerging economies.
It really highlights how, the balance of power is shifting globally.
I think you're right.
These countries, they want more independence.
Yeah, they want to kind of chart their own course.
Exactly.
And we've got a ton of material to help us unpack all this reports, analyses. We even have statements from some of the leaders themselves.
Wow, so we're going to figure out what's driving this whole thing.
Yeah, we're going to try. What it means for the region.
Okay.
And even maybe who might be next to join.
Interesting.
But, okay, get this. We're also going to explore how a Trump victory in the U.S. might actually speed things up.
Oh, wow, that's not something you hear every day.
I know. It's pretty wild.
But, when you look at things, the economic and political landscape, it actually kind of starts to make sense.
So let's start with the basics, I guess.
Sure.
What exactly is it about BRICS that is so appealing to these Southeast Asian nations?
Well, for one thing, their combined economic strength is a major factor.
Okay, yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
We're talking over 28 trillion US dollars.
Wow.
Which is like 28% of the global economy. That's serious.
Yeah, that's not something you can just ignore.
No, exactly. And then there's the new development bank.
Oh, right.
It was created by BRICS countries specifically to fund infrastructure projects, and that's something that's, crucial for developing nations.
So it's like a rival to the World Bank or the IMF.
Many countries see it that way, yeah.
But potentially with fewer conditions.
Potentially. Yeah, they want to diversify their financial partners.
Yeah.
And BRICS provides that alternative.
Makes sense.
But it's not just about money.
Oh, yeah?
There's also a strong desire for what we call strategic balancing.
Oh, I'm curious, what does that mean in this context?
Think of it like this.
Yeah.
Nobody in Southeast Asia wants to be caught in the middle of a fight between the U.S. and China.
Oh, right.
Both superpowers are trying to exert their influence in the region.
Yeah.
And joining BRICS, it allows these countries to kind of maintain some independence.
Okay.
They can play both sides, so to speak,
So it's like a high-stakes balancing act, trying to keep everyone happy without, compromising their own interests.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Now, some countries are even more eager to join BRICS than others.
Oh.
Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand, for example.
Oh, interesting.
These seem pretty determined to become full members.
Why is that? What's making them so enthusiastic?
Well, each country has its own reasons.
Okay.
Let's take Indonesia, for example.
Yeah.
Their president, Prabowo, he sees this as a chance to really solidify his position as a leader in the global south.
Right.
Wants Indonesia to have a bigger voice on the world stage.
So joining BRICS would give him a bigger platform.
Exactly.
And more influence.
Precisely. Now, Malaysia's Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim, he has similar ambitions.
Okay.
Yeah, he wants Malaysia to be a bridge between the major powers.
Right. So they both want to become influential players on the global stage.
Mm-hmm.
What about Thailand? Are they on the same page?
For Thailand, it seems to be more about the economic benefits.
Okay.
They're a huge exporter of agricultural products, so stable markets, access to alternative financial systems.
Right. They need reliable buyers
Yeah.
and ways to protect themselves from, crazy price swings.
Exactly. Now, it's interesting to compare these guys with Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
They've decided to stay as just a BRICS partner for now, not a full member.
Really? Why is that? Seems like a good opportunity.
Well, Vietnam's foreign policy is all about what they call multi-alignment. Basically, they want to stay friends with everyone, the U.S., the EU, China, everyone. Getting too close to BRICS might damage their ties with the West, which would be a problem because, the U.S. and EU are their biggest export markets.
So they're in a tricky spot.
Yeah.
They want the benefits of BRICS, but don't want to alienate their existing partners.
Exactly. It's a very complex geopolitical landscape.
Now, this is where things get interesting.
Okay.
Our research shows that a Trump victory in the U.S. could actually push more Southeast Asian nations toward BRICS.
It seems counterintuitive.
It does. But it's true.
Okay.
We need to look at the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
Trump's America First policies
Right.
and his talk of potential trade wars, it creates a lot of uncertainty
Makes it.
in the global economy.
Yeah.
So some countries might see BRICS as a safer bet.
Exactly. It offers an alternative power center, a way to diversify their
I
risks.
see. Okay.
One expert put it really well. He said, the world is in for a very rocky period
Hmm.
in global economic relations, and the BRICS can serve as a hedge against that.
Wow.
Strong words.
Yeah, so if things get rough economically, BRICS starts to look more appealing.
Right.
Okay, I
And
get
then,
it.
and then, the U.S. withdrawing from trade deals
Yeah.
like the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Yeah, right.
That just adds fuel to the fire.
It creates a void that BRICS can fill.
Exactly.
Okay, so there are some like clear political advantages to joining BRICS.
Yes.
Especially in a volatile world.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the economic benefits? What are some concrete examples?
Well, there are some tangible benefits.
Okay.
Take the BRICS grain exchange, for example.
Okay.
This platform is designed to provide more stable markets for agricultural commodities, which is a big deal for producers like Malaysia and Thailand.
So Malaysia, the world's second largest palm oil producer, could benefit from more predictable prices.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And for Thailand, a major rice exporter,
Yeah.
it offers a valuable alternative to, those Western-dominated markets.
Right. That can be so unpredictable.
Exactly.
This also helps reduce dependence on the U.S. dollar.
Yes, many countries want to diversify their currency reserves.
Create more financial independence.
Exactly.
So we've got Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand potentially jumping on board.
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam playing it cautiously.
Yeah.
What about the other countries in the region?
Well, Myanmar has officially applied.
Oh, wow.
They're facing a lot of sanctions.
Right.
So they're looking for allies and economic opportunities.
Makes sense.
But with their internal conflicts,
Yeah,
it's unlikely they'll be accepted anytime soon.
probably right.
Cambodia and Laos,
Yeah.
they're both very close to China.
Yeah.
So they might join out of loyalty,
Mm.
but it's hard to say for sure.
Are there any countries we can confidently rule out?
I would say Singapore, the Philippines, and Brunei are very unlikely.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit.
Sure.
Why not Singapore?
Well, Singapore has built its identity around being a neutral financial hub.
Okay, yeah,
Joining BRICS would alienate their Western partners.
right. Damage their reputation.
Exactly.
What about the Philippines?
The Philippines has very strong ties to the U.S.,
Yeah, I can see that.
both economically and militarily.
Mm-hmm.
Joining BRICS would be a huge shift in their foreign policy.
So too much history.
Yeah.
Too many strong connections.
Exactly. What about Brunei?
Brunei is all about stability,
Right.
maintaining the status quo.
Okay.
They also have defense agreements with the West.
Yeah.
So joining BRICS would be a radical departure.
Right. So they're not really looking to shake things up.
No, not at all.
So as you can see, it's pretty complex.
Very complex.
There's a lot at play here.
a lot going on.
We've explored the motivations behind this interest in BRICS,
Yeah.
the potential benefits,
Mm-hmm.
the drawbacks, and who's likely to join next.
Right.
But there's one more thing I want to touch on before we wrap up.
Oh, okay.
You're going to bring up the Trump factor again.
You can't resist, can you?
I can't. It's just so intriguing.
Okay, I get it.
We talked about how Trump's policies could push some countries towards BRICS.
Mm-hmm. But let's take that a step further.
Okay, I'm listening.
What if this trend continues?
Mhm.
More and more countries start looking for alternatives
Okay.
to the current, U.S.-led economic order.
Yeah.
Could BRICS eventually become a more dominant force in global economics?
That's a big question.
It is.
It's tough to say for sure,
Yeah.
but it's definitely worth thinking about. We're already seeing this shift toward a more multipolar world
That's a good point.
where power is more distributed.
The world is changing,
It is.
and BRICS is part of that change.
Exactly. And that brings us to a question for you, our listener.
Okay.
Think about this. What would a multipolar world mean for your life?
Ooh, that's a good one.
How might it impact your work, your investments, even your everyday experiences?
These are big questions.
They are, but they're becoming more and more relevant.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We'll delve deeper into all of this in the next part of our deep dive, so stay tuned. Yeah. Yeah, it really is a fascinating question.
It is, isn't it?
As the world gets more complex,
Mm-hmm.
the old ways of doing things,
Yeah.
they're being challenged.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember
Yeah.
this isn't just a simple us versus them situation.
No.
Choosing sides between the U.S. or China, the West, or the East.
It's not a binary choice at all.
That's not.
Many countries are looking for a third way,
Yeah.
especially in Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
They want to forge their own path,
Yeah.
find their own place
Find their own place.
in this new multipolar world.
And that brings us back to BRICS.
Yeah?
It's clearly more than just, like, an economic group.
It is a
Aesthetic.
different way of thinking
Yeah.
about global governance.
It's a challenge.
It is.
To the existing order.
That's a key insight.
Yeah.
And that's why, some in the West,
Right.
they're so uncomfortable with BRICS.
Yeah, they see it as a threat.
You do?
A sign of their declining influence.
Yeah, exactly.
But for others,
Mm-hmm.
BRICS represents hope.
Yes.
A chance for,
A more fair.
a more fair and inclusive global system.
That's what makes this whole discussion so interesting.
Yeah, it's not just about,
Dry economics.
dry economics or geopolitics.
It's about values.
It's about value.
Different visions for the future.
So let's dive into those values a bit.
Sure.
What exactly does BRICS stand for?
Right.
Like what are their guiding principles?
Well, officially,
Mm-hmm.
BRICS is all about promoting,
Yeah.
cooperation and development among its members.
Okay.
They emphasize something called South cooperation,
Okay.
which is basically, strengthening ties between developing countries.
So it's about solidarity
Yeah.
among nations that have historically been,
Marginalized.
marginalized or exploited by the current global system.
You could definitely say that.
They want to create a more level playing field,
More level playing field.
a system where their voices are heard
Exactly.
and their interests are taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
How does that translate into concrete actions?
Right.
What are like some of the key initiatives that BRICS is pursuing?
We've already talked about the New Development Bank,
Right. Yeah.
which provides funding for infrastructure projects
Yeah.
in developing countries.
Okay.
They've also set up something called the Contingent Reserve Arrangement,
Okay.
which is basically like a pool of money
Yeah.
to help members facing
okay.
financial difficulties.
Oh, so it's like a safety net
It is. It is.
for emerging economies.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
And they're also working on
Yeah.
establishing a BRICS payment system, which would,
Yeah.
reduce their reliance on the U.S. dollar.
Right. And those Western-controlled financial institutions?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a bold move.
Yeah.
It really shows their ambition to create a genuine alternative system.
It does.
Wow.
But it's also important to remember that BRICS is still,
Yeah.
evolving. It's not a monolithic block.
Right.
There are internal disagreements, competing interests
Oh, of course.
among the member states.
So it's not a,
Perfect union.
perfect union by any means.
Not at all, but that's what makes it so interesting, right?
It does, yeah.
It's a dynamic process.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating to watch it all unfold.
Speaking of unfolding, let's bring this back to Southeast Asia.
Okay.
We've talked about the countries most likely to join.
Yeah.
But what about the wider implications for the region as a whole?
That's where things get really interesting.
Oh.
Southeast Asia is rapidly becoming,
Yeah,
a key battleground.
a battleground.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the global power struggle.
You mean between the U.S. and China?
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Both superpowers vying for influence. And Southeast Asian nations are right in the middle.
So how does BRICS fit into all of this?
It gives them another option,
Okay.
another way to play the game.
Another way to play the game. Okay.
By joining BRICS, they can,
Yeah.
signal to their independence, their refusal to be pawned
They'd be pawns, yeah.
in someone else's chess match.
So it's a way to hedge their bets
It is.
and avoid putting all their eggs in one basket.
Precisely.
Okay.
It also gives them more leverage
Leverage.
when negotiating with both the U.S. and China.
I see.
They can say, hey, we have other options,
Yeah.
You need to treat us with respect.
So it's a power play.
It is. It
In a
is.
sense.
It's all about maximizing their strategic autonomy
strategic autonomy.
in a world that's becoming increasingly complex,
Right.
unpredictable.
One thing that struck me in our research
Yeah.
was this emphasis on strategic autonomy.
It's a central theme
It is, isn't it?
for many Southeast Asian nations.
Yeah, they want to be the masters of their own destiny,
Exactly.
not beholden to any one power.
And it's completely understandable,
Yeah.
given their history.
You're referring to their colonial past.
I am.
Right.
Many Southeast Asian countries were colonies of European powers
Yeah.
for centuries.
For centuries.
They don't want to repeat that experience,
No, of course not.
to be dominated by any outside force.
So BRICS is seen as a way to break free from that cycle of dependence.
Yes. In a sense.
Okay.
It's about, forging their own path,
Yeah.
finding their own place in the world.
But it's not just about rejecting Western influence, is it?
No, it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
It's about diversifying their partnerships,
Right.
having a wider range of options.
So they want to have their cake and eat it too.
You could put it that way.
Okay.
It's about playing the game smartly, maximizing their benefits, minimizing their risks.
That brings us to another key concept, multi-alignment.
Multi-alignment.
We touched on this earlier with Vietnam's reluctance to fully embrace BRICS.
Right. Multi-alignment is about
Yeah.
maintaining good relations with multiple partners,
Yeah.
regardless of their ideological differences.
So it's like a diplomatic balancing act.
It is.
Okay.
It's about avoiding rigid alliances,
Right.
keeping your options open.
Okay.
And it's a strategy that's becoming increasingly popular.
Yeah. Why is that? Why is multi-alignment so appealing to these countries?
Well, for one thing, it allows them to avoid getting caught in the crossfire.
Right. Like we were saying earlier with the U.S. and China.
Precisely.
Yeah.
By maintaining good relationships with both superpowers,
Right.
Southeast Asian nations, they can reduce the pressure to pick a side.
So it's a way to maintain their neutrality
It is.
in a world that's becoming increasingly polarized.
Exactly.
And it also allows them to extract benefits
Yes.
from both sides.
From both sides.
So it's a very pragmatic approach.
It is.
Okay.
Very much so.
Yeah.
It's about putting their national interests first and, navigating a complex geopolitical landscape.
It sounds really tricky.
It is. It is.
It requires
Diplomatic dexterity.
a certain level of skill, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's a delicate dance.
A delicate dance.
But one that Southeast Asian nations have become quite adept at.
Oh, interesting.
They have a long history of balancing
Yeah.
between powerful neighbors, navigating complex regional dynamics.
So in a way, they're well equipped to deal with the challenges of this.
Of a multipolar world.
Yeah, this multipolar world.
I would definitely say so.
Okay.
Their history, their culture, their strategic mindset,
Yeah.
it's all prepared them for this moment.
That's not to say it will be easy, of course.
Of course not.
There will be bumps in the road, right?
There will be
Difficult choices to make.
difficult choice.
Yeah.
But, Southeast Asian nations,
Mm-hmm.
they've shown this remarkable ability to adapt
Yeah.
and thrive
Yeah.
in challenging circumstances.
It's a really good point.
They've weathered many storms
Yeah.
throughout their history,
They have.
and they've emerged stronger each time.
Hmm.
So I'm optimistic
Okay.
about their ability to navigate
Yeah.
the complexities,
The complexities,
right?
right?
The multipolar world.
And to find their own path
Exactly.
on their own terms. That's a powerful message, isn't it?
It is. It is.
It's a reminder that even in a world dominated by superpowers, smaller nations can still have agency, can still make their voices heard.
They can.
We've talked about the appeal of BRICS, the concept of strategic autonomy,
Yeah.
the delicate dance of multi-alignment.
Right.
But let's not forget about,
The elephant in the room?
the elephant in the room, or should I say the dragon?
You're talking about China.
I am, yeah.
Right.
China's the big player in all of this. Their economic and military might, it looms large over the entire region.
There's no denying it.
No.
China's rise
Yeah.
is the defining geopolitical event
Of our time.
of our time. Yeah.
And it's having a profound impact
A profound impact.
on Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So how does China view BRICS?
Right.
Is it simply a tool to extend their influence?
Well, China certainly sees BRICS as a way to
Yeah.
promote its interests
Okay.
on the global stage.
Right.
But it's not quite that simple.
What do you mean?
Well, China also recognizes the value of, having partners
Right.
building coalitions.
Right.
They know they can't do it alone.
So BRICS is a way to build solidarity
It is.
among developing countries?
Yes, and to create a counterweight
Mm-hmm.
to Western dominance. China sees BRICS as part of this broader shift
Yeah.
in global power.
A move away from a
A unipolar world.
unipolar world dominated by the U.S.
Yes.
towards a more
Multipolar world.
multipolar world where
China plays a leading role.
China plays a leading role.
Exactly.
And that's why they're investing so much in it.
It is.
Okay.
They see it as a key platform to advance their,
Their vision.
Their vision, right? Of a community of shared future for mankind.
That's their big catchphrase, isn't it?
It is.
A community of shared future for mankind.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly does that even mean?
Well, it's a bit vague.
Okay.
But essentially it's about creating a more equitable
Right.
and inclusive global order.
Okay.
One where China plays a central role.
But critics argue
Right.
that it's just a way to mask their hegemonic ambitions.
There's truth to that.
Yeah, to sugarcoat their quest for global dominance.
China's actions often speak louder than words.
Right.
And many countries, especially in Southeast Asia, they're wary
They're wary.
of becoming too dependent on China.
So it's a balancing act.
It is.
Right. They want to benefit from China's economic rise,
They do.
but they don't want to become subservient to it.
Exactly. And that's where BRICS comes in.
Okay.
It offers them another option,
Another option, right?
another way
Yeah.
to engage with China
Mm-hmm.
without becoming, beholden to it.
So BRICS is like a buffer zone, in a way.
You could say that.
Yeah.
It gives them more room to maneuver,
Okay.
more leverage
Yeah.
in their dealings with China.
Which is crucial for maintaining their,
Strategic autonomy.
their strategic autonomy, their independence.
Basically.
It's about finding that sweet spot.
That sweet spot,
Yeah.
that balance between cooperation and competition.
That's a challenge.
It is.
That will continue to shape the region
For years to come.
for years to come. Yeah.
Hmm?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something you said earlier
Sure.
about China's vision of a community of shared future for mankind.
Right. Right.
It sounds great in theory,
It does.
but how does it actually play out?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that deserves more attention.
Yeah.
We've seen how China's economic influence
Mm-hmm.
is reshaping the region
Yeah.
through initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative.
No, they're massive infrastructure projects.
Massive.
They're changing the face of Southeast Asia.
They are.
Yeah.
But, there are also concerns about debt traps,
Yeah.
environmental damage,
Hmm.
lack of transparency.
So it's not all,
Rosy.
rosy.
It's not. There are winners and losers
Mm-hmm.
in this game.
Right.
And many countries are trying to, figure out how to navigate this new reality
Yeah.
without sacrificing their own interests.
So it's a delicate balancing act.
Once again,
Yeah.
it always is.
It always is.
But that's what makes it so fascinating.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from the allure of BRICS
Mhm.
to the complexities of China's rise.
Yeah.
And I have to say,
Yeah.
this deep dive has really, really opened my eyes.
It's a region in flux,
Yes.
full of potential and peril.
Potential and peril.
And we need to pay close attention
Oh, we do.
in the years to come.
But before we get ahead of ourselves,
Yeah.
let's shift our focus to
Yeah.
some real world examples
Right.
of how BRICS and China's influence
Mm.
are playing out on the ground in Southeast Asia.
Right.
We'll delve into specific case studies
Okay.
and see how these abstract concepts
Right.
are impacting the lives of ordinary people.
That's what matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay with us. Welcome back to our deep dive,
Huh.
into Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and the growing influence of BRICS.
BRICS, right?
It's easy to get lost
Yeah.
in the theories
Mm-hmm.
and the big picture stuff.
The big picture. Right?
But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's all about real world impacts.
Yeah, we need to see how these abstract concepts
Right.
are actually affecting people's lives.
Exactly.
Where should we start?
Indonesia's a perfect example.
Indonesia, okay.
Their president, Prabowo,
Yeah.
he's been very vocal about joining BRICS.
He has, yeah.
He believes it's,
Yeah.
a key to boosting their development.
Economic development.
Yeah, and raising their global profile.
He's not just talking about it, though, is he?
No, not at all.
He's taking concrete steps.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Indonesia is actively seeking funding
Oh,
from the New Development Bank for
Right.
major infrastructure projects.
like what?
New railroads, ports,
Oh, wow.
things like that. So these projects have the potential to,
Yeah.
create jobs,
Mm.
stimulate growth,
Exactly.
and connect Indonesia
Doing it closely.
more closely with other BRICS nations.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a win-win for Indonesia.
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
But we also have to acknowledge the risks.
The risks. Okay.
Some critics, they argue that these projects could lead to,
Yeah, right.
increased debt
Oh, right.
and make Indonesia more dependent on China,
China, right.
which is, a major player.
A major player in the new development bank.
In the new development bank, exactly.
There's that balancing act again.
There it is.
Right.
Yeah.
They want the benefits of closer ties
Okay.
with BRICS,
Yeah.
but they also want to avoid...
Becoming too reliant
Yeah.
on any one power.
It's delicate.
It is a delicate situation.
It is.
And it's not just happening in Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
Let's look at Malaysia.
Malaysia, okay.
They're also exploring ways to strengthen their economic ties with BRICS nations,
Okay.
particularly in agriculture.
We talked earlier about the BRICS grain exchange.
Mm-hmm.
How does that fit into Malaysia's plans?
Well, remember, Malaysia is a huge palm oil producer.
Right, right.
They're always looking for new markets
Yeah.
and ways to stabilize prices.
Okay.
The BRICS grain exchange, it offers them an alternative.
An alternative.
To, those Western-dominated markets.
Right.
That often have
Yeah.
wild price swings.
So it's all about diversifying
Yes,
their
ma'am.
options, minimizing their exposure.
To unpredictable global markets.
Yeah. Unpredictable global markets.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's not just about the economics, is it?
No.
Malaysia's also looking to strengthen
Yeah.
political and security ties
Political and security ties. That's
with
right.
BRICS nations.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. What kind of initiatives are they pursuing in those areas?
Well, they've been, participating in joint military exercises
Oh, wow.
with Russia and China.
Okay.
They're exploring opportunities
Yeah.
for cooperation
Cooperation. Okay.
on things like counterterrorism
Right.
and cybersecurity.
That's a significant development.
It is.
It suggests that BRICS is evolving beyond just,
A purely economic bloc.
yeah, purely economic bloc.
It's becoming more of a geopolitical alliance.
And that's something that we're observing.
across Southeast Asia.
Across Southeast Asia.
It's a trend.
Yeah.
Countries are turning to BRICS
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
counterbalance U.S. influence.
So this all ties back
It
to
does.
the idea of
A multipolar world
a multipolar world, right?
where power is more distributed.
Yeah.
No single nation calls the shots.
And that shift
Yeah.
has profound implications for Southeast Asia.
Profound implications. That's right.
The region is becoming like a focal point.
A focal point in the global power struggle.
And BRICS is
Right in the thick of it.
in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's not forget about
China.
China. Right.
They're a major player in all of this.
They are a major player.
Mm-hmm.
They're economic and military power.
It's impossible to ignore.
Impossible to ignore. How are they
Right.
how are they exerting their influence in Southeast Asia?
Well, we talked about the Belt and Road Initiative.
The Belt and Road, yeah.
They're investing huge amounts of money
Mm-hmm.
in infrastructure
Infrastructure, okay.
all across the region.
All across the region, okay.
Building roads, railways, ports, power plants.
And these projects,
Yeah.
they're having a real impact.
A real impact on the ground.
On the ground, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're creating jobs,
Right.
facilitating trade,
Oh, okay.
linking those Southeast Asian economies
Yeah.
more closely with China's.
It sounds like a mutually beneficial arrangement.
It can be,
Yeah.
but there are also downsides.
Downsides. Okay.
Some experts,
Yeah.
they've raised concerns about
Yeah.
debt traps,
Okay.
environmental damage,
Right.
lack of transparency.
So it's a complex situation
It is.
with both positive and negative aspects.
Positive and negative, exactly.
Some countries are reaping the benefits
Mm.
of Chinese investment,
Right.
while others are more,
Cautious.
they're cautious and wary.
Wary of becoming too reliant on Beijing.
There's that need for balance again,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Southeast Asian nations want to benefit
They do.
from China's economic rise
Yeah.
without,
Jeopardizing
jeopardizing their own
sovereignty.
Yeah,
They're looking for that sweet spot.
that sweet spot.
You
yeah.
know, that balance between cooperation
Yeah.
and competition.
Given all of these complexities,
Right.
what do you think the future holds for Southeast Asia?
I think we're going to see a shift
A shift.
toward a more multipolar regional order.
Can you elaborate on what that means?
Sure. It means that,
Yeah.
no single power
Yeah.
will dominate.
Okay.
We're going to see a complex web
The complex web.
of relationships, alliances,
Okay.
countries are going to be constantly adjusting.
Right, constantly adjusting.
Strategies.
Seeking an advantageous position.
It's going to be dynamic.
It is.
And unpredictable.
Dynamic and unpredictable, that's right.
Which creates
opportunities and challenges.
And challenges.
For Southeast Asian nations.
Right, so they'll have more options.
Right. More leverage.
More leverage. They can play the different powers against each other.
They can negotiate better deals.
Right.
Assert their interests more effectively.
But a multipolar world also comes with,
greater instability. Higher risks of conflict.
So Southeast Asian nations are going to need to be
very skillful in navigating this geopolitical environment.
Diplomacy. Strategic thinking.
Yeah.
Adaptability. These will be crucial. More than ever before.
And they'll need to constantly reassess.
They work. Their relationships.
Their alliances.
As the situation evolves.
Because in this new world order, nothing is set in stone.
Nothing is set in stone.
Okay, so what key takeaways should our listeners, keep in mind as they observe these developments in Southeast Asia?
Pay attention to how Southeast Asian nations are balancing those relationships. Okay. With BRICS,
China,
U.S.
The U.S., right? We need to look for those signs of strategic autonomy. Multi-alignment
that we talked about. And it's equally important to,
to understand
how these shifting power dynamics are
playing out. On the ground. We need to consider
how Chinese investments, BRICS projects, U.S. policies, how are they affecting the lives of ordinary people?
Those are the stories that matter. Yeah, the voices that need to be heard.
Because
ultimately, it's the people.
It is the people.
Who will shape the future of this region.
Well said.
This has been a really, really insightful deep dive.
It has.
I've learned a lot.
Me too.
And to our listeners. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
On this journey.
We encourage you.
To keep exploring, keep questioning.
Keep diving deep. Into the complexities of our world.
Until next time.